us! For this episode of Versus, we're going to be talking about why Thanos' plan will fail in the real world. I'm sure that a lot of people have talked about this, you know, at the onset of Infinity War.
You know, like usually one character versus another.
Yeah.
This time around, it's more like the movie versus reality.
Can you imagine, though, if you had the power to, like, solve everything in the snap of a finger? You know what I mean? How?
Can you imagine? Only money.
Instant love life.
Get married to a prince.
Get married to David Beckham.
Hello, Victoria. Spice girl. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want.
No, you didn't.
So it seems that Thanos had that idea, but will it really work? Is it really as simple as that? Will his plan fly against real economic theory?
More than anything, is it an economically sound decision to just wipe out half of the universe?
Our contenders.
Yeah.
Oh. That's a contender. Like a boxer.
First contender, of course, is Thanos, the Marvel Cinematic Universe version of Thanos, not the comic book version. He is, of course, the main villain of this film, and if you haven't seen it yet, obviously there are going to be spoilers. His home planet went extinct because it was overpopulated, so directly quoting the film, he said,
"It was beautiful."
What are you, Marlon Brando?
Titan was like most
let my first child be a masculine child.
Too many mouths, not enough food to go around. And when we faced extinction, I offered a solution. Genocide. He is a horrible actor. At random, it would be fair for rich and poor alike. They call me a madman. And what I predicted came to pass.
No. Ladies and gentlemen, Lolo Thanos set out to balance the universe. So he pursued the Infinity Stones. Now, with all of them in his possession, he could wipe out half the population of the galaxy from existence. Now, he thought that this is, that this was the way to prevent overpopulation from destroying the universe.
Yes. But there is a big but, and it's not Geno's.
Cannot lie.
According to interview with Marvel producer Kevin Feige, he says, that's either genius or horrific, depending on your point of view, and most of our point of views say it's
genius.
Pretty horrific.
So the question stands, was his plan genius, or did he just cause the Marvel and MCU fans a lot of heartbreak?
Eliminating half the population of the universe, is that a viable solution to overpopulation, or is it a bit simplifying? He should have...
Remix! What else?
I mean, what else should he have taken into account? Let's define certain terms before we, bite into the meat of this argument.
Okay, overpopulation. What exactly is overpopulation? So the population of an environment by a particular species in excess of the environment's carrying capacity.
This was famously tackled by the Malthusian theory of population proposed by Reverend Thomas Robert Malthus in 1798. Let me simplify. So he says that the rate of reproduction is geometric, while the rate of food production is linear.
Okay.
So it's like that, okay? So in even simpler terms, the population increases faster than the rate of food production. Thanos seemed to have a general understanding of the Malthusian theory of population. One of the propositions of the theory is as follows. Population always increases when the means of subsistence, food production, increase. So unless prevented by some powerful checks. There are two types of checks which can keep population on a level with the means of subsistence.
Okay, so it's a legal check and a check that bounces.
No, those are different kinds of checks. So it's the preventive and the positive checks.
Okay.
Positive or natural checks.
All right.
Now, what Titan experienced was a catastrophic natural check, aka the Malthusian catastrophe, leading to their extinction. Now, what Malthus failed to take into account, though, was the development of technology that would actually increase the rate of food production. So, you know what? With like the developed countries, the rate of production is greater than the rate of population growth. But this was not the case for Titan, though, which still went extinct despite their technological achievements. And Thanos was thoroughly convinced that the death of half the population was the only solution. He then extended that idea to the rest of the universe. It might work for a while, but Thanos' solution still isn't sustainable.
It's a band-aid solution.
It is a band-aid solution, and according to the very model he seemingly ascribes to, it's not going to work. No matter how many times, half, he wipes the universe, the amount of resources would stay the same, but the population would just keep reverting back to its old state, so it just goes back to the same problem all over again.
But one other thing that a lot of people have brought up, like after watching Infinity War, a lot of people were like, hey, you have the power to like manipulate reality, time, space. Why don't you just create more resources? Like, more food. More
spam.
Spam for everyone. Spam for days.
Spam. Although it is within the realm of the Infinity Gauntlet's capabilities, again, Malthus mentioned that the population increases when the means of subsistence increases.
Right. So it's kind of like a weird supply and demand thing.
Yeah, so
if
like,
you have too much supply of food,
there will just be more population.
Yeah, there's a demand of people.
Right? So, according to Thaddeus Howes over at Quora, because making more food would have been as physically demanding as erasing half the sentience in the universe, it would have just exacerbated the problem rather than relieved it. So what happens when you give a population plenty of food? Well, you guessed it. More population.
Exactly. So now that we've talked about all of that, what is the solution? I mean, there are several critiques to Malthus's and indirectly Thanos' theory. So here's a few. Favorite communist Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. That's how you say it. Friedrich Engels. Remarked that in capitalist societies, technological and scientific progress are as unlimited and at least as fast as that of population.
And Henry George, 19th century political economist, criticized Malthus's view that poverty was caused by population growth rather than the concentration of ownership of land and natural resources. So the critiques often cite how technology and agricultural methods advance with population growth. Now, over time, populations do reach the carrying capacity of an ecosystem, but it also keeps the population in check.
Now, it's more important to note, however, that, anthropologist and historian Joseph Tainter, author of The Collapsive Complex, I read that while I was on the toilet like a couple of minutes ago.
Oh, yeah. I read that when I was 2.
Wow! It basically states that science has diminishing marginal returns and that scientific progress is becoming more costly, more difficult, and harder to achieve. It kind of makes sense because if you think about it, like if you've invented so many things already, what else is there to invent?
Right?
So he implies that eventually science and technology won't be able to sustain us.
It's time for the verdict. So, summing it all up, Thanos, at least from the MCU, failed. What? He failed. He failed in comparison to Malthus.
I work with a child.
I know, right?
Basically, he failed. So on top of it all, remember how in the post-credit scene, cars and helicopters were actually crashing, buildings caught fire, everything was in utter chaos. That was just the view from the street. So imagine what it looked like for the rest of the universe. What if they had like giant aircraft carriers or whatever, you know what I mean? Like shield-sized helicarriers. Now, despite wiping half of the universe, his solution really is a band-aid solution to an altogether greater problem, which politicians, economists, and scientists have been trying to solve for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Basically, that's our call on whether, Thanos's methods would work in the real world as opposed to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, I mean, but obviously it would be a lot more entertaining to watch that than watch him like create food crops just like that. You know what I mean?
Which wouldn't work.
Yeah,
which wouldn't work anyways.
Would not work anyway.
So comment down below if you had the Infinity Gauntlet, what global crisis would you solve and how would you do it?
Or if you don't want to solve a global crisis, you could just come up with, one of the most mundane things that you would do if you had the Infinity Gauntlet.
Right.
Now, if you've got friends or if you are in a field of science of any sort,
yes,
be it psychology, physics, chemistry, biology, anthropology, sociology, or any other ology,
right?
You can actually, be a contributor to the show. Yeah, help us help other people by being your smart self, because obviously we can't come up with it.
Just be like the good looks and you can be the brains. So don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to The Barca Show.
That's right, and more importantly, ring the bell below. That way you get you get notified whenever we have a new video or something like that. So stay tuned for the next versus.
Yay!